My name is Madison Carter, and if there's one thing people know about me, it's that I've always been cautious. Growing up in Denver, Colorado, I wasn't the type of girl who took risks. I stayed in my lane, kept my head down, and did what I was supposed to do. My friends used to tease me, calling me Safety Maddie, because while they were hiking cliffs, snowboarding steep slopes, or going on spontaneous road trips, I was the one with a hot cup of tea and a book in hand. But something changed when I turned 25. I can't explain it, except to say that I woke up one morning, looked at myself in the mirror, and thought, is this really it? Is this the life I want? I realized I'd never tested my limits. I'd never gone beyond the safe borders I'd drawn around my life. And that thought terrified me more than any risk ever could. So I made a decision. I was going to change. The idea came to me slowly, then all at once. I was sitting in my small Denver apartment, scrolling through old photos of my college friends, people who had once been my closest companions but had drifted away as we all got busier. There was Alex Johnson, who lived in Austin, Texas now, always posting pictures of live music and hiking adventures. There was Sophie Miller, a free spirit in Los Angeles, painting murals and working with art collectives. Then there was Daniel Brooks, an old debate partner of mine, who lived in Chicago and had turned into a motivational speaker. I thought about each of them, and then I thought, what if I invited them? What if I tested myself by bringing people from different parts of my past into my present and seeing what happened? It sounded crazy, but the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to do it. So I did. I messaged each of them. Hey, it's Madison. I know it's been a while, but I'm planning a little experiment in pushing my limits. I want to invite you to Denver for a week. No pressure, no expectations, just a chance to reconnect, try new things, and maybe remind ourselves of who we used to be. Are you in? I didn't expect much.
I thought maybe one of them would say yes.
But to my shock, all three agreed. And that's where my story really begins. The day they arrived, I was nervous. My apartment wasn't big, but I'd done my best to prepare. I had fresh sheets, a stack of board games, and a handwritten list of activities that scared me but that I wanted to try. Rock climbing, open mic night, whitewater rafting, and even cooking for a large group. Alex arrived first. Tall, scruffy, and still carrying that mischievous grin. He hugged me like no time had passed. Maddie, still cautious. Or have you finally learned to loosen up? I laughed. Give me a week and I'll show you. Sophie came next, colorful as ever, her hair streaked with pink and blue. She carried a giant canvas under one arm and a backpack full of paintbrushes. This city needs more color, she said, stepping into my apartment as if she already belonged. Daniel arrived last. He was the most changed, sharp suit, polished shoes, but the same thoughtful eyes. Madison Carter, he said warmly. You always did have a hidden boldness. I can't wait to see what this week is about. The first night was awkward. We hadn't all been together since college, and the silence sometimes stretched too long. But then Sophie suggested we play a game. Everyone had to write down one limit they wanted to test that week. Mine was simple. Do something that scares me every day. Alex wrote, climb higher than ever before. Sophie's was, paint something in public where strangers can see me create. Daniel's was, speak without a script, let go of control. We laughed, teased, and by the end of the night, the awkwardness had melted away. The next morning, we began. Our first challenge was indoor rock climbing. For Alex, it was second nature, but for me, my hands shook as I strapped into the harness. Halfway up the wall, I froze. My legs wouldn't move, my breath caught in my throat, and I wanted nothing more than to climb back down. But then I heard Daniel's voice below. You don't have to be fearless, Madison. You just have to take one more step than you think you can.
So I did.
One shaky step, then another, and then another. By the time I reached the top, my arms burned, my heart pounded, and tears filled my eyes. But I'd done it. That night, we celebrated with pizza and laughter. Sophie painted a mural on the back of a cardboard box, declaring, "This is what freedom looks like. while Alex strummed a guitar and Daniel told stories of his speeches gone wrong. For the first time in years, I felt alive. Each day brought a new challenge. On day 3, Sophie set up her paints in the middle of Union Station. Dozens of strangers passed by, watching her create. I saw her hands tremble at first, but then she threw herself into the strokes of color, bold and unafraid. By the end, people were clapping, asking her about her art. She turned to me, her face glowing. That's what it means to test your limits, Madison. To put yourself out there even when it's terrifying. On day 4, Daniel agreed to give a speech in Civic Center Park, without notes or a script. He stood in front of a curious crowd, his voice shaking at first, but then growing stronger. His words weren't polished, but they were real, about friendship, courage, and the power of second chances. People listened, nodded, even clapped. When he stepped down, he looked at me with relief. That was harder than any stage I've ever been on, he admitted. And on day 5, it was my turn again. We went whitewater rafting on the Arkansas River, and I was terrified. The water was loud, rushing, powerful. I almost backed out, but Alex squeezed my hand and said, "Limits only move when you push them." So I climbed into the raft. The ride was wild, tossing us like rag dolls, but somewhere in the chaos, I stopped being afraid. I screamed, laughed, and when we hit calmer waters, I realized I'd never felt braver. By the end of the week, something inside me had shifted. I wasn't the same Madison Carter who had once been Safety Maddie. I was someone new, someone who knew that fear was just an invitation to grow. On our last night together, we sat on my apartment balcony, eating takeout and watching the Denver skyline. "Madison," Alex said, raising his soda can, "to testing limits. To finding freedom," Sophie added. "To speaking our truth," Daniel said. I smiled, my heart full. To inviting the people who remind us who we really are. We clinked our cans together, laughter filling the air. That week didn't solve everything in my life. I still had fears. I still had doubts. But I had learned something important. Limits aren't walls, they're doors, waiting to be opened. And sometimes, the best way to open them is to invite others in. Because testing your limits isn't just about climbing higher, speaking louder, or taking risks. It's about letting yourself grow, with the people who believe in you by your side. And that's exactly what I did.